Hey boys and girls, Ken Smith, KenSmithFishing.com. Welcome to video number 5 in our structure fishing videos with our friends Albert Collins and Glen Freeman on Sam Rayburn, Texas. So if you've just stumbled up on this video, there are 5 of these so far. I'm probably halfway through my footage, so I would guess there's going to be 8 or 10 of these videos. They're in a playlist on my YouTube channel, or they're at www.KenSmithFishing.com in order there as well, newest at the top. We're also going to continue, for those of you who don't know Rayburn well, we've got a series of map and navigation videos back from 2014. We're in the process of updating those, and I'm also going to get a trail for guys on how to get from the 147 bridge to the 103 bridge that we're going to figure out a way that we can email that to guys who want a copy of that so they can run around up there safe. That's coming. Give me a couple of weeks to get that done. In a prior video, a guy posted in the comments, he said, you know, it's interesting to me that when I always think deep fishing, I'm thinking 20, 25, 30 feet. And in this video, you're seeing us fishing shallower than that. But remember here, the water's rising. So at the time this video is filmed, the water's 2.5 feet low, but it's on the rise. We've been getting some rain. It's been cold rain. You're going to hear Albert allude to that in this video. So the water's cooling off. And if you listen close, what he says here is when that happens, when the water cools off, he'll chase those fish shallower. Shallower not meaning, you know, 25 to 22 feet, but up to 15 and 10 feet of water. So great question. You'll hear Glen also talk here. I think in Glen's mind, maybe we don't fish, or he doesn't fish on Toledo quite as deep as some of the Rayburn guys do. But you'll also hear him say he's caught fish way up into the 30s. My biggest deep stringer on Rayburn was January of 15. We had almost 29 pounds. Those fish were in 32 to 36 feet of water. So you can catch deep fish. Now those fish were in January, but you can catch big stringers on Rayburn in really deep water. But again, in this particular scenario, the water's coming up. So I think in Albert's mind, he's pushing shallower to chase those fish up a little shallower. And you're going to hear him allude another point in this video. Just a couple of inches of rising water makes a difference. I don't get how that happens, but it does. And you'll hear him talk about that here as well. I think I had another, so the last 8 or 10 minutes of this video are not instructional. They are absolutely a trip down memory lane talking about, I asked both the guys who they thought were the 3 best on the lake. And I really enjoy that part of this video. If you're not a Rayburn, East Texas historian, you may not enjoy it as much. But I will tell you this, what it has spurred me to do is reach out to some guys. And this is not going to be the end of this series of videos. I've reached out to some of the folks that we talk about in this video about doing some videos. I'm chasing some of the old Hemp Hill gang. We're going to capture more of the guys who've been doing this forever, who are legends in our part of the world and in other parts of the world as well. And we're going to do our best to get those guys on video and capture their fishing and their memories and some of the great stories. I think I mentioned, you know, Tommy Martin shared a great story with me after the cut at the Costa a couple of years ago, sitting around that morning before takeoff. And that's the kind of stuff I really want to capture, because you're going to hear us name a bunch of guys here in the top 3 on the 2 lakes that aren't around anymore. And it's a shame that we don't capture that, so I'm going to make an effort to capture that, and I think you guys will enjoy those videos. So this is a good video. We got a little bit of wind noise again. I think this is the last of our wind noise in our videos. So let's go to our videos. I'm going to make sure to check my notes here. No, I think that's everything. So let's go to our videos. And hope you guys enjoy these, and we'll get another video up here within the next 4, 5, 6 days. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for referring your buddies over, for subscribing. My subscribership has doubled to over 2,000 in about the last 6 or 7 weeks. So thanks so much for that. And I really appreciate the shares on Facebook. That's how I'm increasing my subscribers, is you guys sharing my videos. So man, I appreciate that. I love the feedback and all the emails I get. My email address is KenSmithFishing@outlook.com, or you can comment below. If you'll notice on all the comments below, I respond. If you ask a question or if I see something there that's interesting, I'll respond to you. So I want this to be interactive, but I want us to all have fun. So again, thanks, and let's go watch these guys catch some fish finally. Hey, a fish.
So Glenn just asked the question, is Rayburn falling? And Albert answered yes. Talk about what rising and or falling water does to offshore fish. Do you think it impacts if you're catching fish offshore and the water starts dropping, makes them tougher to catch?
No. I think it helps. Yeah. With the water falling, to me, it seems to help a lot of times the offshore bite. When the water's rising, those fish a lot of times want to move shallow. And I try to. That's where I move in, and I try to find them, you know, on them, instead of 18 to 25 foot of water, I try to find them on them 8, 10, 12, 14 foot. It seems like they want to move up.
So you blew my mind last spring. You had just caught a big stringer, I think it was last spring, and I asked you if you were going to catch them that week, and you said nope, the water's come up 3 inches.
Yeah.
That made that difference.
It did.
It takes, I guess same thing over here. Toledo Bend, if it comes up an inch or two, those fish may not be there. It'll move them.
And you don't do a lot of bush fishing, do you? So, is there, and I'm not asking you for the number, but there's a number you could say that's when you go to the bushes.
Fish is, you know, I'll tell you what, as long as there's water in the bushes, there's a good chance fish will be in the bushes.
It's unbelievable over there.
Yeah, it is. And we don't have a long period of time each year if the water does come up and get in the bushes, but while it's in there, those fish are in there.
When you caught that stringer at the BFL the other day, but it's been 3 months ago, was the water rising or falling?
It was. It was at a time of the year. It was actually falling and rising. I mean, it was crazy. It would go down 4 to 6 inches or so, and then we'd have a rain and it'd go back up. They weren't doing much generation or pulling the water out or anything, so it was fluctuating quite a bit and everything. So it wasn't any good pattern to the water rising or falling. It was doing both of them.
Do you think those fish were where they were stacked up a little better though because of that? They couldn't get comfortable in the bushes?
Well, there wasn't any water in the bushes.
Okay.
Water done fell out of the bushes. So.
So Glenn, when you're throwing your worm, you don't rear back and rifle as far as you can throw it, do you?
Well, it depends on the target.
Yeah.
But you know, the further away, I mean, that's not doing me any good. There's a lot more chance for the fish to get off. So the closer the contact for me, the better.
Me trying to throw this crankbait, I'm trying to get mine out further so I can get that bait on the bottom and come through the area where I think the fish will still be down on the bottom when I get there, because if I make a short cast of this, then I can go over the top of it. Right there. Hey, the offshore fishing has gotten a little tougher for me recently.
It's tougher on Toledo.
I think a lot of it had to do with that cool rain. The water temperature, of course, it's warming back up now, but the water temperature here a couple of weeks ago was down to low 80s here. We got like 3 inches of rain over the lake, and it cooled it off big time. Well, not much, very, very little, but it just cooled it. It's cooled
Yep.
So I can't really do that on Toledo.
So once Toledo go deep, they're deep.
Pretty much so. Yeah. But the question is, how deep? You know, it's deep over there could be, 15 foot instead of 30 foot.
Good. Same thing here.
Depends on the year.
What's the deepest you'll typically fish on Toledo? Summertime or wintertime?
Normally 20, 25 foot, stuff like that. I've caught them as deep as, I've caught them actually at 35 to 38 foot. Very seldom. Usually they're up there. They're still up there where they can get to a shallower point, ridge, or whatever they're feeding on. usually 20 foot's a big key for me.
So Toledo's got some of the prettiest creeks just out in the water.
Yeah.
Do you always, so one of the questions was, do you ever see fish set up on the inside of a creek bed?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you think there's a reason for that, or is it just kind of a random deal?
Current, and what people don't realize too is a creek or a river or anything, it's had years of water running through there washing places off. It washed the mud and the silt off, and it's there again. We go back to the harder bottom. So depending on where that hard bottom spot is on the creek channel, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, a lot of times on a creek channel, a lot of times that inside bend is where your sandbars are.
Exactly.
So good point. Most of our hard spots, I've always figured, is current. Current's washed them off.
Yep. In the case of Rayburn, a lot of times, especially on some of these little shallower ridges out here, Rayburn has been low, real low, 2 or 3 different times, and all the sand and stuff blowed off of a lot of these ridges, just left clay bottom and left a lot of hard clay spots up on top of these ridges that people just don't realize are there a lot of times.
If you find a shell bed on Rayburn, you gonna get bit?
Probably. At some point in time. It might not be today, but at some point in time, you're gonna catch fish on them shell beds.
So Albert, you made a comment earlier about brush piles. You have done a lot of brush pile fishing in your life.
I have.
I mean, you've got a pontoon boat. You've laid a lot of brush piles out.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me.
I haven't in the last couple of years.
But in the past, so guys are going to watch this that aren't on Rayburn too. Guys are going to watch it all over the country.
Right.
You got a favorite kind of wood?
No, well, something hard. I mean, I want something when I put it in there, it's going to stay in there for a little while. So some type of hardwood. I don't like cedar. I just don't think fish like cedar that much. I might be wrong, but I never had a lot of success with cedar. But I've put out a lot of different kinds of woods, and I catch them on. It really don't matter, you know. I catch them on a lot of different kinds of wood. So it's just something that's got some good average size limbs on it, and I try to trim them down to the point where you don't stay hung up in them real bad.
So you'll cut some of the wispy stuff off of them?
Yeah, I will.
And do you like to set them, I mean, obviously we all like to set them up on points or on a creek swing. Have you ever figured out, I think I know the answer to this, but have you ever figured out a way to put them where they're harder to find?
Well, you know, when I was putting out brush piles, I tried to keep my brush piles where they weren't just huge and obvious. You know, I like to put out a brush pile where I could make 7 or 8, 10 casts and go.
And you're done.
Be done with it. But the main reason why I quit doing that is 2 reasons. It's got to the point where even though you get a brush pile in a spot where it's hard for somebody to find it, if they're going to come by and mark you, they're going to find it anyhow. And then, in a lot of cases, I can get a brush pile out there that's working and doing good, and that's all you need there, and somebody else gets on that brush pile and they start adding brush all around it. And next thing you know, you just got 2 or 3 or 4 big brush piles in one area, and it ruins it.
So
I just quit doing it.
So your preference when you did it was what I always call kind of one fish brush piles.
Exactly. I would like to put out 50 or 60 brush piles, and if I could catch one fish that was a quality fish out of every 5 or 6 brush piles, I'm happy with it.
Along those lines, Glenn, we were talking when we were idling, and you were talking about this new Lowrance graph.
Right.
So did you say you were actually able to see stuff with it out on a 120-foot scale?
120-foot scale, and that's pretty incredible too. It's on the Carbon series. The main thing was the 3D feature on it, and it wasn't really in the 3D mode or anything, but just that particular setup, you're able to see a lot further out, a lot clearer. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But you could see a stump, you know, like I say, 120 foot, and I didn't really try any further than that. I think it'd go further than that.
What were you looking for?
stuff on the bottom. Okay, trees, stumps, anything. Buck Perry coined that as a break on the structure. Anything different, like a big rock, big tree laying down, or anything like that. And you know, on the side scan and everything, you can see the fish and stuff.
And that, and so I'm a Humminbird guy, you're a Lowrance guy. That's a straight up answer to the mega imaging from Humminbird.
Exactly, that's their answer to the mega imaging.
So this is, you're going to get in, well, let's face it, we see stuff that our friends never saw. Our older friends never saw. Box flasher. I own a box flasher. You own a box flasher?
I do.
You own a box flasher?
Yeah.
We can see stuff with our electronics now that the guys before us could never ever see. So it is getting easier, right?
Yeah.
We got maps. I mean, I remember getting out here and trying to line up that pine tree way over there with that tower way over there and make a cast.
Right, right, yeah. You know, if back in the late 70s, early 80s, the technology was here that we had right now, there's no telling what kind of stringers.
Oh my gosh.
People just couldn't pinpoint the things that we pinpoint now that makes so much difference.
Glenn, did you ever find a big school of fish you could never find again because you couldn't get back on the spot?
Well, of course, Toledo's, like I said, Toledo being a little bit different. When I a lot of times there's always something around a tree, an old tree or something, or timber or something that you can get a reference on and everything. But I have found them like that and then turn around and go back exactly over the spot and they be gone. But I can get back to the spot usually.
Yeah, and Rayburn used to be that way. I mean, all where we're at out here right now, you see very few stumps, but it used to be so thick you couldn't hardly get through here.
Yeah, so we're basically on the edge of the Black Forest is where we're kind of poking around back here.
Right.
And we've not bumped anything idling around, but
No,
trust me,
a big stump right here, though.
oh, there you go.
You
I
see
don't know
it.
if you can see that one or not. They are certainly out here. We were out here the other day and I saw about a 40-foot mussel boat go across the middle of it out there at about 65 miles an hour. So
Yeah. People just, for some reason,
well, they don't know any better.
they don't know that this stuff's out here.
Yeah.
The lake level's getting to the point now to where they're fixing to start finding it.
Yeah, I heard a guy knocked his skeg off.
I did.
And where there's grass, there's bass.
Why do you stay away from the grass on Toledo?
Just how, you know, a lot of the structure of the fishing is, like I say, it's just slick. Okay. So you learn to fish without it, and you actually find out fish is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't look for grass. And I don't have it up there either.
You got a little more color to the water up where you fish on Toledo too, don't you?
Yeah, the further north you go, a little more off color, a little more stain and everything, and I like that. I mean, clear water's good, and you start getting around Pilgrim Bridge, you know, it starts getting clearer and everything. The further south you go, and I don't mind fishing clear water. That doesn't bother me. But it's just a fact that up there, you know, we got a lot of creeks and the river narrows down, and we just got off-colored water.
How far north have you been on Toledo in a boat?
Well, let's see. You know where Deadwood, Texas is?
No, I do not.
It's just Sabine River, in other words. It's actually where it actually goes into Texas.
Above Logansport.
Oh, above Logansport, yeah. So, but that being said, I mean, I don't do that much tournament fishing up there.
Sure.
I stay a little further south.
Pretty good duck hunting up there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's good duck hunting.
So who taught you to fish, or not just necessarily taught you, but who's influenced you on the style of fishing that you do?
It'd have to be Hugh Wrinkle.
The guy who made the rinky dink.
That's right. And Hugh passed away 3 or 4 years ago. He's a good friend of mine, and he was a deep water fisherman, and he was hard to beat back in his day too. He taught me a lot. I It got me off the bank line out into the offshore structure.
What year would that have been?
Oh gosh, 20 something years ago. 25, 26 years. Well, actually more than that, come to think of it. I'd say about 27, 28 years ago is when I actually got to go fishing with him. When I first built the rinky-dink, I made like I think a dozen of them, painted them and everything. He assembled them. He was going out catching 60, 70, 80 bass a day. And, we were bank fishing, catching 3 and 4, and a good day was 5 or 6, And he never would take me and show me how to fish it. And finally one day, about a month later, he took me. And the bait was one thing, yes, but it was actual the learning experience of offshore. What to look for, what to find, and that's the important thing. That's what we stress to a lot of people that fish with us and everything. Offshore fishing is pretty important. Tournaments and everything, and not all during the year, of course, but a lot of the time. But he was the influence on me as far as offshore.
Albert, you grew up fishing with your dad?
Yeah. Yeah, and we did a lot of worm fishing and stuff, and we would fish channels, creek channels and river channels and points and stuff like that, and it wasn't until probably I was around probably 17 or 18, I started venturing down the lake and spending a lot of time fishing some of this offshore stuff out here, and most of that was with a jig and spoon, and kind of learning, pretty much self-taught on that stuff. I just, put in the time, and to me the biggest challenge is figuring out where the fish are and how to catch them. And that to me is satisfying to me to go out and find a group of fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about.
So,
somebody got a bite. I knew there was something.
Yeah, there's something out there anyway.
Kentucky rain. All right, Albert, so you can't count yourself. Who's the best 3 you've ever seen on Rayburn? Of course, it's going to be Dickie Newberry and Ken Smith 1-2, so that's 1 and 2. Let's eliminate those 2 guys too.
I would have to say David Borton.
Who we lost, gosh, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
A few years ago, yeah. And somebody you brought up here a while back, Boney Moore.
You think he was that good?
Boney was really good. Boney, yeah, I fished a lot of tournaments against Boney back in the day, and him and Lindell Martin Jr. used to fish a lot of tournaments together, and when they showed up, you pretty much was donating your money to them, And yeah, he was real good. A lot of people just didn't realize how good Boney was. Yeah, I mean, you got Dickie in the mix for sure. I mean, he's always, so once in a while.
Yeah, so go out and catch 7 pounds on a BFL on Saturday.
Yeah.
And go back the next day and win it with 22 or 23 pounds.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's decisions,
That's all it was.
That's all about making decisions and having things come together.
He told me later he got a bite that morning that clued him in.
Right.
But where those fish were, and he didn't catch any of the 5 fish he weighed within 400 or 500 yards of each other. He was running a pattern.
Right.
You could still do that.
But Dickie was always good about not really doing that well during the day. Then on his way to the weigh-in, stopping someplace on a point and catching 2 or 3 4-pounders. He's just good at that.
Well, and I'll share a secret. So he's got a spot down on the south end of the lake that we haven't caught a fish off of in several years, but it's one of the spots we talked about.
Yeah.
He found it 15 years ago, and we still check it. Yeah. Because when they're there, they are not, you don't measure them. Yeah. You just put them in a live well.
I've got 3 or 4 spots down there like that, and when the lake gets right, they go into my rotation, and I make it a point when I'm headed back to weigh in, I'm gonna hit 1 or 2 of those spots.
Yeah. Yep.
And when you catch one, it's most likely going to cull something out of your live well.
Yeah, yep. Pause for a second, guys. One guy jumps to mind that seems like he probably made some house payments with my entry fees. There was a guy here named Vernon Beatty.
Yeah.
You didn't mention Vernon.
Yeah, you know, it was just you only gave me 3 options. Well, there's a lot of guys that could fall in like the top 10 or 15, and Vernon definitely deserved be in the top 3. It's just.
And he was a structure fisherman.
Vernon was a structure fisherman, and he fished a lot of grass too. Don't
Yes,
get me
he
wrong.
did. Yes, he
Vernon
did.
was excellent at fishing grass, but he could get out here offshore and hand it to you.
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. Glenn, same question to Lita Ben.
You know, I'd have to say Stan Burgay was one of the toughest competitors I ever had to fish against,
And one of the nicest guys.
and one of the very nicest guys. And in fact, we would be going toward the same hole island sometimes, you know, fishing, but we never good friends. Mike Metcalf was just you had to be on your toes to beat him. He was always going to come in with a big sack, and a great fisherman too. And one of the guys that doesn't fish, he fishes a lot of tournaments when he can. He works overseas and everything. Is Wayne Ebar.
Oh yeah.
Wayne is one of my top competitors, and we're real close friends. And you know something I want to bring up too, just like Wayne and Stan, and like I say, I'm like Albert, I could mention 4 or 5 others, I think. Never really had a problem. If Wayne saw me on a spot or I saw him on a spot, we stayed away. In other words, I didn't fish his stuff, he didn't fish mine, so that made us even more competitive and everything, instead of trying to beat him to his spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big factor, and you know, we seemed to get along extremely well and everything. So, but those 3 there would probably be my pick. A lot of new, younger guys coming up though.
Oh, we were talking off camera
Yeah.
about Nick.
Yep, Nick's coming up. He's a great fisherman. He's got the
Just won
knowledge.
the All-American.
That's right, and he knows how to use electronics and everything, which is, as we lose our timber on these lakes, we have to rely on our electronics now.
Yeah.
Very important.
Nick studies. He puts in his time. He learns about fishing, how to find them, how to catch them. You know, what to do and what not to do. How to maximize his day. You know, I think he is pretty darn sharp on figuring out what time of the day he needs to be working.
Yeah.
I really think that's a big key right there. Is he figures out when to go to something. You know, because I see him at different times fishing grass. I mean, there's lots of times he'll start out fishing grass, then he might 9 or 10 o'clock make a run, go fish deep, and then come back to fish grass. I mean, I've seen him do it 2 or 3 different times, and he's figuring the timing deal out.
He idled by me in a tournament. I guess it was last summer. He idled, oh my gosh, 400 yards to make 5 pitches in a grass bed.
Right.
He didn't catch a fish. He cranked up and he left. Which made me think he might have been bit there before, maybe, just possibly.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to finish our last thought. You mentioned Mike. I was always really, really impressed with Gary Elbert.
Yeah, absolutely. He found his fish. He got out there and did his homework and everything. And it was just like we're trying to do. You know, it's hard to name this 3. Everton was so hard to beat, and he put the time in to find his fish and everything.
So those of you who don't know those names, Mike and Gary fished together, and you may know the details of this better than I remember, but they qualified for 2 team championships the same weekend, one on Dam B and one on Toledo. They fished them separately and they won them both.
Yeah.
And if I remember, they either won 3 or 4 boats that weekend.
Oh, I don't know how many they won that weekend. I know at one time they had 8 or 9 boats sitting in one of them house in the yard and everything that they had won. I mean, they're just good fishermen.
Just good fishermen.
Good
Yeah.
fishermen. They could fish Rayburn Artley. It didn't matter. They weighed a huge sack
Man, they can fish anywhere.
on Rayburn over here. And go right back on Toledo and catch them. So.
Well, so Mike, by the way, is the guy who's got the record here as far as we all know, right?
For the heaviest 5 fish weighed in the tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah.
41?
41 something.
Unbelievable. How many stringers have you caught over 30, Albert, in tournament fishing?
Several. I don't know.
More than 10?
Probably.
And you've said you've caught 3 or 4?
I think 4.
4. What's your biggest stringer?
A little over 32 pounds.
Yeah. My biggest is just over 32, also on Richland Chambers back in the day. And we caught 30 pounds at Falcon, and they hurried us off the stage.
Yeah.
We caught 31 the first day and 29 the second day. And as we drove away from the lake, Dickie said, "Do you think we got a check?" And I said, "No, there ain't no chance." And an hour later, we got the text message that 10 fish that weighed 60 pounds got the last place check.